Hello, my name is Lonijonli, and welcome to Hello Creators. I got the idea recently to create a podcast and feature some interesting creators. In our seventh episode, I wanted to feature a remarkable maker and friend. He is an exceptionally talented director, actor, writer, and dancer. Please welcome Jonathan Ross to the show.
Lonnie, how are you, friend?
Doing good, friend. How are you?
I am tired, but life is good. Life is good.
What is your experience with directing plays and musicals?
Oh man, so as far as directing plays and musicals, directed my first show in fall of 2020, and it was a children's show, and I kind of got bit with the bug there. Actually, it was one of your former guests' mother. Kristen's mom asked me if Kristen and I were interested in it, and I said, yeah, I would like to give it a shot because I've always liked creating things, and I was like, yeah, this would be, this would be fun, and so I did that. Fall of 2020 during COVID, so that was fun. And and I just kind of got the bug, and one thing led to another, and I've been going pretty consistently here for what's that, 5 years now. So yes, ma'am.
That is great. I didn't realize that it had been 5 years.
Time
That's
flies,
wild.
right? Time flies. It is really. I'm one thing that is really cool is one of the kids that was in that show now. She is still doing shows with me. She's been in every show since. I think she was at 9 years old, 9, 8. She's 14 now. So it's just crazy how fast time flies. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
is. Yeah.
What struggles do you use? What strategies?
Good.
Oh my gosh. What strategies do you use to ensure that all elements of a production, lighting, sound, costumes, are in sync?
Wow. So honestly, something that I try to do when I am directing a show, and this is very controversial within the theatrical world. A lot of people look at stage shows and they think, "Oh man, I don't want to go to a boring show," because theater kind of has that rep of being boring. But you never hear people saying that about movies. Everybody loves watching movies, and so I always think, how can we make it look as movie-like as possible? And I mean, you're obviously limited to what you can do, on a stage versus on a film. But I'm always like, how can we turn this stage into a screen to where it's like people are watching a movie now? Sometimes because of that, things can seem a little bit like, I don't know if that's real theater, but I think theater is just a great tool of storytelling. And so when you are looking at lighting, sound, costumes, I always want our shows to be an immersive experience. So that's why, with the lighting, I'm like, hey, let's go as absolutely crazy as we can, no matter what the scene is. Sound, I'm like, hey, if we have thunder, turn that sub up super loud so it like rumbles. So costumes really, put people in things that really like pop, because so what was your question? Was exactly what is the strategy that I use to make sure that it's all in sync, is putting it all together to just create an immersive story that is in front of you. Now, with that being said, sometimes you can do too much and it can come back to bite you. But hey, that is part of creating, right? You try certain things, some things work great, some things don't work so great, and you just learn and you keep going. So yeah, just hey man, throw it all in there and see what happens.
I would say you've been successful with that, where
Well,
you
thank you.
own your own theater now.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you had told me in 2018, 2019, I'd be sitting right here today with you doing this, talking about this, I'd probably be like, nah, probably not. So yeah, man, God has really blessed us, and yeah, very thankful every day.
What challenges have you faced as a director, and how did you overcome them?
Well, there have been a lot of different challenges. um, Probably one I will say, just being a director, is not always necessarily the part of directing the show itself. It is dealing with people, learning different people's personalities, kind of what makes different people tick, what make like I may can say something to you, and I don't even mean in a aggressive way. I'm just saying I may can even explain something to you one way, but may have to explain it to somebody else differently. Just really understanding that you have to get to know the actor as the person that they are, and then once you kind of know that person, then you can kind of direct them a little bit more. So I would say in some of my early days when I was still kind of learning, I didn't quite get that right off the bat. But now as we're you're good. Now as we're how many ever shows that I've done now, I can't even count. You're fine. Yeah, it's just learning. It's just learning about that person as a person, learning about that actor, singer, dancer, whatever, as a person first, and if and making everybody, making sure that your actors and that your performers feel seen and that they feel heard. And I would like to say that most everybody that I work for seems like they don't ever feel like that I don't listen to ideas that they have, that I try to learn all their different personalities, and once you establish trust like that, it just makes your whole directing just so much easier, and just it just makes the overall experience better for everybody. So that would be my answer. That would be my long-winded answer to that. Excuse me.
I would say at least a lot of the people here trust you because a lot of us have known you for like 10 plus
I
years.
know, it's
And we're like,
enough.
oh, you're going to start this theater. Cool. We'll follow you.
That's kind of how it happened. That is how it happened. Yes.
What inspired you, and onto acting,
Yeah.
what inspired you to pursue a career in acting?
So, I honestly really do not fancy myself just a fantastic actor in any sense of that. I am surrounded by so many more talented actors than I am. People like yourself, and I mean that I can name. I'm not even going to begin to even name some, because some of them are so good that they make me look absolutely awful. But I love to tell stories, and so I would say it was really the art of storytelling that got me, and just the love of just the arts in general that got me really involved in theater. And I've been able to do several things. I've done obviously quite a bit of theater now. Worked on a couple of smaller short films, and have gotten to kind of see what it's like, acting on a stage, see what it's acting like in the movie industry on a obviously smaller scale, but still kind of getting just to kind of see. And hey, man, acting is a tough job. People think that it is easy to get up there. No, it isn't, man. It is really tough, and I r- really shout out anybody who really takes their acting craft seriously.
And
So,
how about the military movie you did with Tracy Taylor?
yeah, Tracy Taylor, love Tracy. That was directed by Jeremy. Directed that one, and Ben shot it. Man, that was a awesome experience. We did that. I think it was in 21. I think that was it was a film called Unarmed Divide, I believe was the name of it, and it was about a soldier who was struggling from PTSD, and did I say it right? PTSD.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mind blanked. I was like, did I just say that right? And yeah, no, that was an absolutely phenomenal experience. I have been knowing the Taylors for years and years and years, and so when Jeremy first got booked on, I remember when he first got, I think it was the Alvin and the Chipmunk spot when he was on that one, and then of course he ended up being on, was it It and all that, and I just thought that it was really cool for him to come back here and to give a lot of local people a chance to just kind of get a behind the scenes look of how an actual Hollywood movie set is. So yeah, that was a awesome experience, and yeah, shout out to Miss Tracy for reaching out to me about that. Hopefully, we get to do something again soon one day. Love that. Yeah.
How do you prepare mentally to step into the character's shoes?
Um, I think it depends on the character. If it is a real life character that you were playing, you just have to pretty much dive into that person's story, dive into their backgrounds, and just really understanding why they do and say certain things that they do and say. You know, it is really easy to look at characters on like a surface level. But what I try to do is, okay, I know how a person might perceive. I'm talking like actually me, as in Jonathan Ross. People may perceive you as a certain way. And, all of us are pretty aware of the perceptions that most people have. But, I don't know everything about Lonnie, how Lonnie knows everything about Lonnie. You don't know everything about me, how I know, everything uh, about me. So I think that when you are playing these certain characters, it is stepping into those shoes as you really are them and understanding, excuse me, that yes, they might be a villain character, but why are they a villain character? Why are they a good character? Why? So yeah, so it's just about really understanding that person as an actual person, not just a character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
So that's
sense.
kind of what I would do, and that's what I try to whenever I am directing, also to try to get everybody to
Yeah.
really like think about their motivations for things.
Oh yeah. And you're depicting a real life biblical character right now.
I am John the Beloved, which is end up taking care of Mother Mary after Jesus's passing, and man, what an honor for the Son of God to ask you to watch out for his mother. I mean, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like,
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you received when you started out?
Oh man, to just go for it. A lot of times when people first start, I was the same way. You're kind of shy. You're thinking that everybody's looking at you, and just to remember that everybody started somewhere, and most people who really appreciate the craft of acting know that. And it's just, yeah, just simply go for it. Don't second guess yourself. Don't, because trust me, a director will tell you if something's good or bad. But just, yeah, go for it. Make choices. Make bold choices. Sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, so that was some advice that I got. And that's advice that I would give somebody else starting out too, is, hey, just simply go for it, man. Just go for it.
And on to writing, because you're also a writer. What was your hardest scene to write?
So when you sent me these questions and I was looking over that, I was really trying to think what are some of the hardest scenes or the hardest scene. And to me, it has probably been one of those final scenes in our production Race to Freedom. And it's the scene when the slaves are about to make it to Canada, and the slave catchers have caught up with them. And the reason that that was such a hard scene is because that was the like big wrap up scene when basically everything in the story had come to a head there. And so you wanted to write this like big climactic scene, but some of the things that were said in it, I had to go to a really uh, uh, what's the word? I don't want to say dark, but a very insensitive side when you're listening to these slave catchers talk. And being African American and knowing that there were people that once looked at you as nothing but cattle, and you're having to write all of these like words out, and to think that, hey, what I'm writing is honestly mild. I mean, truthfully, but just having to write those scenes for the slave catchers was super hard versus writing it as the slave, if that makes sense, because I was having to tap in to thoughts and certain verbiage and stuff that I've never thought of, and so that was one of the hardest scenes that that scene I specifically remember. Just that one scene took me about 3 days to write, because I had written most of it honestly fairly quickly, and then yeah, I spent about 3 days on that one scene. Yeah, that scene was tough, but it is one of the scenes I am the most proud of. Yeah, so super 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 proud of that scene.
Well, the audiences had a very positive reaction to the show. It ran
Yeah,
for 3 years.
it did. Is we probably will not be running it any time again soon, but that is a show that I am very very proud of. And you can always tell when something really clicks, because when you like look out in the audience, if you see like a bunch of like phones out, or if you see people kind of looking at their watches, they're kind of whispering. I can honestly say 99% of the time during that scene, if you just happen to glance up at the audience, everybody was just glued to the stage during that. So yeah, so that scene that was definitely, yeah, the hardest scene I have ever written, for sure, for sure.
If you had to do something differently as a child or a teenager to become a better writer as an adult, what would you do?
Um, Not take even the most mundane, boring days for granted, because the stories that come out of your life every day of living is an adventure. And even the things that you think don't really matter. I'll give you a prime example. I don't know if you ever watched the Waltons
Yes.
or not.
Yeah.
Earl Hamner, who wrote those, he just wrote a lot about his, life, and just the stories of him and his brothers and sisters, things that I'm sure in that moment they thought this isn't anything special. And he ended up taking those stories, and of course had one of the most successful family television shows ever. So just, yeah, so just even some of those moments that you're like, oh, there's really nothing that's gonna come of this. Hey, who knows? One day it might be part of a grand story that you never even knew. So that is something that I wish I had done a little bit more when I was younger. It's just, yeah, not taking any moment for granted, the good and the bad.
And into dancing, because you're
Dancing.
also a dancer. You're a multi-talented man.
Oh, thank you. So are you, Fred. So are you.
How did you become a dancer? Please tell us something about your journey.
Dancing. So I actually, when I was younger, I hated dancing. I couldn't stand the thought of dancing. And then there was this show that I used to watch as a kid. It was called Kobe's Clubhouse, and it was basically like a Christian Mickey Mouse Club. And they would like do all these little songs, all these little dances, and me and my nieces and nephews, we would just start like copying these dance moves. And I remember one day I think we were just in my den, just doing it. And my mom saw us, and she was like, "How do you guys know all these?" I mean, Lonnie, we would legit, when we know probably 30 of them, and we could just do them all just one after another. And she was like, "How do you guys, know this?" We said, "Oh, we just watched them and we just practiced." And so it gave her the idea of, she said, "Man, we should have you guys uh perform." She's like, "You guys are actually kind of good." And honestly, it was just kind of a God-given talent. Honestly, I can't really even, I'm not saying that, like saying that we're the greatest dancers ever, but it was just a God-given talent, and that was how we started. We formed as a group called For His Glory dance team. And I remember we had like we had like a debut performance, and then before you knew it, churches started booking us, and we'd travel all around, and we would dance at different places. And then um, out of that, we started adding some singing and some rapping and different things to our act. And oh my goodness, we did that from 2005, 20 years ago, which is insane. We were babies. We were babies. I think Abigail was the youngest at the time. She was 5 when we first started. Yeah, because she's 25 now, about to be 26. So yeah. So it's crazy to think of how, young that we were. Oh, and we traveled Knoxville, Charlotte, Atlanta. We met a lot of awesome people, and that is how I really kind of got probably my first real taste. Now, once again, on a like small scale, but kind of got my first little taste of like the Christian entertainment world. Like I said, we got to got to meet some really awesome people, and have formed some relationships that now, looking back at it, it is crazy, some of the different things. But that is a whole nother podcast story. I could talk for an hour about the For His Glory dance. But that is how I started dancing. And then we start taking some classes, and we would build up on our skills. And man, we used to dance hard. That's why that's why now I be messing with the dancers that we have down here at the theater, because I will have them do a song like 3 straight times. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so tired." I said, "Bruh, try doing a song 15 straight times." But yeah, no, just yeah, we just really uh honed our honed our skills. And yeah, that was basically how that all started. So
And that's even like part of the reason why you made the stage the way it is too,
it
is to
is
make
to
dance sound
yes,
better.
dance has always been my number one love out of all of the arts. I love to dance. I love to dance. I don't do it as much as I used to, just because I just got so many other things now, other facets. But I absolutely love it. Yeah, love to dance. Love to dance.
What are important traits a dancer should have?
Um, I'm going to quote the late great Michael Jackson, who is one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to dancing. He said thinking is the worst mistake that a dancer can make. When you start having to think about what you're doing. When you dance, you have to become the music. And you become the drum beat. And whether it's like a real strong stomping move or something, you become the like strings. Whether it's gliding, you're doing something with your arm, you have to become a physical embodiment of whatever music is uh playing. So the number one trait that a dancer can have is to not think, is just to feel. Because once you start overthinking it, you're done. You're
Mm.
done. Now, and I'll be honest, I will say this. This always upsets some people. Some people have that, and some people do not. Some people just can't do it. Some people are not dancers, and that's fine. That's fine. Some people are great singers, some are great actors, but some are not great dancers. Dancing is almost something you can learn how to dance, and I've been around now for a good while. I can kind of look at somebody and tell when somebody has learned to dance and when somebody is just a natural born dancer. I mean, I would be willing to say, not to flip to interview you, but I mean, I'll be willing to say, as a singer, I am sure you can tell the difference when people have learned to sing and people who are just natural singers. There is just a difference there. Yeah. So the number one trait is just to not think, but to feel. To feel.
Mm, that's good advice.
Hey man, I tried my best.
How does dancing inspire you?
Dancing is such a way to just express yourself. Um, I know that's a very cliche answer, but it really is true. It's a way to get out frustration. It's a great way to stay in shape. I actually came up here the other day. Actually, I had kind of had a rough day, and I went in the stage in there, and I turned on music. And if anybody had walked in here, they would have said, "What is Jonathan doing?" Because I was just on that stage dancing my heart out, bro. But yeah, it's dancing is just because it's basically to piggyback off of what I just said. You are becoming an embodiment of that music, and people feel that when you dance. People feel that. I mean, when you do certain moves or whatever, it is almost impossible for people not to cheer or clap. People feel that, and yeah, I think dancing makes the world go around. Even if people aren't good at dancing, say, meaning they may not stand up on a stage and dance. Think about just when you're doing silly dancing, you feel something when you dance. And people, what do they do at weddings? You dance. The bride and groom have their first dance. Dancing is just such a it is it's just such an embodiment of emotions that we feel. you know yeah, I mean, what I hate to take it here, but what's one of the first things people do when they get drunk? They start dancing, like,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, babies, you become, and babies bounce and dance. Dancing, it is a way to express uh emotion. So being able to do that, and I think people seeing other people do it inspires them to not be afraid to express themselves in dancing.
What's one thing you wish you knew before starting your career in the arts?
That you cannot please everybody. Everybody will always have something to say, whether it's praise, whether it's a critique, whether it's just a flat out, I just don't like it. Um, Now, in that same breath, I do really try to listen, because I know from an audience perspective, things can look different, and so it is important to definitely listen to critics, but don't get so caught up in the critics that you lose your creativity. And
Mm,
because your vision may be different from somebody else's, learning that you can't please everybody, because if you do that, you will drive yourself absolutely crazy.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely crazy.
There would be one person wanting one thing and another person say,
Yes.
no, that's stupid.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, art is subjective. So it is very crucial. I think a lot of times for us people who are very creative, and I'm sure you can relate to this, your mind goes in 50,000 different directions, and you think of all these different projects. And sometimes you have to really like stop and be like, okay, I need to focus on this one project and I need to get this done. Or you end up with 10 unfinished projects. Like I probably have 30 to 40 unwritten or partly written scripts, because I'll get started on them, and then something else catches my so some of that could be ADD, but but no, it's also just learning to have discipline in your creative process, and really locking in with whatever it is that you're working on, whether it's music, whether it's a show, whether it's a movie, whatever. Lock in on that one particular project.
It's so easy as artist, especially if you're a super creative artist,
Yes.
to have so many different ideas and so many different projects, and then trying to decide which one you actually want to finish first.
Yes, it's so like, I mean, I've got so many shows just that are constantly in my head. I'm like, oh, that sounds so fun. That sounds so fun. That's why I have to be really careful whenever I put out whatever our show lineup is, because I end up wanting to change it every month. But yeah, no, it is. It is.
Do you have any people that have inspired you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I've said, I'm inspired by great storytellers. I'm inspired by a lot of producers and directors, almost more than even. Now, I mean, obviously have like dancers and singers and actors and stuff who I think are, some of my, favorites. But I love knowing that somebody had a vision and turned it into a masterpiece. One of mine is James Cameron, the director of the Titanic, and oh my goodness, my mind just went blank. The one with the blue people. I just went totally blank.
Oh, the Avatar
Yeah, Avatar.
series?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
totally blank. The way, but especially for Titanic, and I know all my friends that listen to this are gonna go, "Oh my gosh, he's talking about." But no, I mean seriously though, to take such a tragic story and turn it into a cinematic masterpiece, and the way that they told that story, and the way that, I know some people think that it is boring, but it honestly tells such a beautiful story in the midst of tragedy. And I think that is just the like coolest thing. And it was a project that was years ahead of its time. I think it came out, what, 97, something like that, 97, 98. You think I would know as big of a fan. I'm also cheating looking at my poster up here on my wall of the Titanic, but I think it's 97. And just what he was able to just do with that story is just, I just love it. That is something that I really eventually want to try to get into, is doing historical dramas, kind of like I did with Race to Freedom. But I would love to like do historical dramas, because I think there is something. I'm also like a real big history nerd,
Mm-hmm.
so I think there's just something really cool about taking history, because some of our greatest stories come from history,
Mm-hmm.
and I think being able to take that and create just a great story out of that is just, yeah. So James Cameron. The other one is Jerry Bruckheimer, and he's produced and directed a lot of a lot of classics. He did the whole Pirates of the Caribbean series. Remember the Titans. I had to write some down because he's done so many. National Treasure, Top Gun. He is the man behind all of those films, and what is so cool about those is all those films are extremely versatile. All of those films go, like, I mean, think of Pirates, and then think of Remember the Titans. Two completely different types of,
Oh yeah.
stories, but to be able to take those and to create timeless classics. Yeah, I think that Jerry Bruckheimer is one of the most uh, uh, accomplished, and just a producer that I really look up to. I'm also gonna. This answer may get a little long-winded because I got to explain these different people that inspire me in different areas. The other one, some of you guys may have heard him. I know you do, but that is Phil Lawler and Paul McCusker, and they are the writers for a audio series called Adventures in Odyssey. And I think those guys are some of the most underrated storytellers of our generation, because it was in such a niche market as far as what they were doing in radio drama. Christian radio drama is such a niche market. But when you really dissect their storytelling, it is incredible. Like they are some of the greatest storytellers, and I was a huge fan of that series growing up. I listened to hours and hours, and I would honestly really say that is probably where my love for storytelling came. I grew up. I'm not an only child, but I am the youngest, and so I grew up in the home by myself. And so, when you're trying to find things to do, I mean, I would sit and listen to these things for hours. So I really think that is where I fell in love with the art of storytelling. So those are some of the people. Now, those are all my like entertainment inspirations. But then, I'm also inspired by a lot of the people that I am around on just a daily basis. My theater that I have, FHG Productions, it is all volunteer based. None of y'all are getting paid for this, and that is unbelievably expiring, inspiring to me to know that all of you guys have such a love for the arts and just being on stage that you're willing. I mean, girl, you drive from freaking Big Stone. I hope you don't mind me
I don't care.
doxing you here, but you drive from Big Stone to Kingsport. What is that? 45 minutes, 50
Yeah.
minutes? Just because, and you're not getting anything out of it, just that you love doing it. So how can you not be inspired by that? And it is so inspiring when I get to see some of these, kids who are like so shy, like when they first come, and then they get to show 3 or 4, and you're like, who the heck is this kid? So yeah, that is absolutely inspiring, and just so just very, very rewarding. It is so rewarding when a cast member's grandma comes up to you and they're like, thank you so much for giving my granddaughter or my grandson a place for this, or all the moms and dads that come and help us with stuff. All these people just do it for the love of uh, the arts. And so I am inspired every day by them. And obviously, like I said, there's like other creators and actors and stuff that I think are just phenomenal talents. Michael Jackson's always going. I've already mentioned him once. He's always going to be. I think he is one of the greatest. Elvis fans, you can fight me on that. I think Elvis is also great, but I think Michael is the ultimate GOAT. And just the way that he's able to command a stage is just, I think it is just phenomenal. I could go on and on about different people, but as far as in the arts, those I would say are some of my tops for sure. So
Those are good tops.
Rambled a lot about nothing, but yes.
I wouldn't say it was nothing.
Well, I appreciate it, Lonnie.
Can you describe a turning point in your career that took you to the next level?
This question, I really want to be able to answer this and it not come across as arrogant, because that is never my intention. But I was always kind of a on-stage person, not really a behind the stage guy as far as in like the creative. But as I got a little more into theater and I started going to all these different theaters, which do excellent work. This is in no way saying that all these places that I visited aren't great. They are absolutely phenomenal. But I started, looking a lot of what they were doing on stage, the stories that they were telling, a lot of them familiar stories, and one day it just kind of clicked, and I said, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I think I can do a pretty decent job at it. And God opened up the opportunity late 2021 at a local church to direct another children's production. And even though I say it was children, a lot of them, well, I won't say a lot, but at least half were, tweens to young teenagers. And I mean, I felt very proud of what it did, and I thought it was a great show, and everybody that came to see it loved it. And through that, I met somebody that's like, I have an opportunity for you. Would you like to potentially come do a Easter Passion play? And I was like, I've never directed anything on that scale, but I'm willing to, try it. And I honestly just took a lot of the knowledge. And you also have to understand directing was so different from dancing because, dancing, we would go in there, like I talked to her, and we would practice for 3 hours and just dance, 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 dance. But theater is so many facets. It's, dancing, it's music, it's acting, it's lighting, it's, costuming. And I will be honest, there were a few in those early days that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm probably just going to do just this one. And I don't know if I'm going to do this again because this is so much. But I was able to be blessed with an absolutely amazing team. And we did that first show, and I remember after opening night, I got up there and I stood on stage and I was like, I can do this. And yeah, and I just kept on going. But yeah, I would say that moment was, like I said, um, I was just visiting a lot of other theaters, and I was like, I can do this. I was like, I have this same, like, and you automatically start thinking, well, how would I do this if I was doing it? And the idea sounded pretty good in my head anyway. And yeah, and I just went for it. And but yeah, it was when I got that opportunity um at that church, and it has just been a journey from there that I thank God for every day, every day. So, like I said, so I don't want that to come off as like I'm saying that I'm the like greatest thing ever, or I'm the like end all be all, but there's a difference in cockiness and confidence. And I just started having
Yeah.
confidence that, hey, I can produce a good show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just went for it. Now I couldn't do it without everybody involved because I'm only one man. I can't do everything. But that is something I would say to anybody: surround yourself with a great team. Never think that you are the smartest person. Um, the minute that you the minute that you stop growing, or the second that you think that you know everything, is when it will not end well. So you should always keep an open mind, and remember, no matter how great you are, there's always somebody who can do it better. There's always somebody who can do it better. There's somebody who can always sing better, somebody that can direct better, act better, produce better, design lights better, wardrobe better. There's always somebody better. And not that you're necessarily trying to be the best version that you can be, but stay open to growth, and never get complacent with where you are. Always say we can always do better.
Your competition is only you.
Yes, you are your greatest competition. Yes, absolutely. I love going back and like looking at old photos and like old videos and stuff, and seeing how FHG has continued to like grow from that first Easter show in March of 2022 to the one that we just finished an hour ago here in 2025, and seeing that growth. I love that. And next year I want to see how can we outdo this year, and just keep on going forward, man. You can't stop. Never stop.
Never stop.
Never stop.
What do you have coming up next? Any projects or exhibitions in the works?
Oh man, yeah. So we've got as far as on the writing front, I don't have too much more this year. We have our variety show coming up. This is going to be a great show. Let's see, we've got Little Women coming up in August. Very excited about that. A lot of people are very stoked about that. one I am personally very excited for is To Kill a Mockingbird. That is in October. Cannot wait for that. And
Classic.
then, yes, and then for Christmas this year, we've got a Christmas Carol. But I have already, speaking of Easter, I think I've already started thinking over some ideas for Easter next year, because it is never too early to start. Um, we've got some really awesome shows planned. I don't want to say them all right now, but for 26, if you thought our 25 lineup was a heavy hitter, 26 is going to be great. On my As far as outside of on stage, I've got a couple things that I have been working on. I really want to get my podcast up and going, and Lonnie is kind of inspiring me to do that. So that's something I'm going to try to do when I have a little bit of time off. When I am not directing here or something, I'm going to try to get that going. Yeah, and I'm always, though, I'm always writing. My phone is full of just notes from just, various ideas and things. So yeah, we're constantly working on stuff. So, but yeah, so just, keep up with us, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and you can check out Jay Ross's Instagram. It has
J
a
Rossi
blue
3.
check mark.
Hey, you got a blue check mark now, girlfriend. And
And
Lonnie, I just want to shout you out, man. I think that this podcast is absolutely awesome. I think this is great. I legit admire you. I think you are one of the hardest working people in this entertainment realm that we are in. I love that you were never afraid to try whatever. Lonnie will try whatever, man. And I think that is, and so I think that you should get your flowers also, man, because I think what you're doing, Lonnie is going to blow up one day, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm waiting on it. It is going to happen. It's going to happen.
let's do it at the same time.
You know what? I'm okay with that. We will help each other out in this.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
for
friend.
being on the show.
Absolutely, I love it. And whenever I get mine up and going, you will be one of my first. You'll be one of my first calls, girlfriend.
Thank you, friend.
Absolutely.
And be looking out for future endeavors of FHG and Jay Ross.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening.